We're going weiter, we're covering ground. Taner Rabbanan. We are in Yud Aleph and Beis at the bottom. The last Gemara that we spoke about was the drasha that teaches us that Ibur HaShana has to be in Yehuda, and Rashi is the one who claims that it's limited within the lands of Yehuda, that it has to be in Yerushalayim. And we discussed Taisus Kasha, that Taisus says there seems to be contradiction in the Gemara here, in the Gemara in Brachos, what the source is, and we presented the Tzlach's drasha that we've mentioned many times, that it's not a contradiction. One Gemara was referring to Kiddush HaChodesh, one Gemara is referring to Ibur HaShana. Everything plays by different rules, and not necessarily what carries over to one carries over to the other. That was, if you remember, a famous debate that we had between the Minchas Chinuch and the Tzlach, already dating back to the Yad Ramah and the Ran, whether or not the halacha of Atem Afilu Shoigegin, that we find by Kiddush HaChodesh, that if Bezdin is Mekadesh HaChodesh incorrectly, they made a mistake, it's Chal B'di'evet, the Gemara says, Beferish in Rosh Hashanah. Does that automatically apply to all time-bound, time-natured halachas like Ibur HaShana, where Bezdin's involved in controlling time? Does that automatically apply to Ibur HaShana? The Ran said yes. The Yad Ramah needs a drasha, and he wouldn't intuitively apply both of them. And with that, I introduce the next Gemara, because when we originally introduced this machlokes between the Minchas Chinuch and the Tzlach, Mark Liebman asked me the following question, a gewaldige kasha. Listen to this kasha. Taner Rabbanan, ein ma'abernes HaShana ela b'yoyim, v'mibrua b'layla ein mu'beres. This is at the bottom of Yud Aleph Amud Beis. You see where the Rambam of Mesoros Hashas Ches? 9 lines from the bottom. Taner Rabbanan, ein Yud Aleph Amud Beis. Taner Rabbanan, ein ma'abernes HaShana ela b'yoyim. You're only allowed to do Ibur HaShana by daytime. V'mibrua b'layla eina mu'beres. And if you were ma'aber b'di'eved, Bezdin was ma'aber, they tried to make the leap year at night, it doesn't work. Ve'ein mekadshenes hachodesh ela b'yoyim. And you can only do Kiddush HaChodesh by day. V'im kidshua b'layla eina mekudosh. Why is that relevant to us, la'alacha, Rabbi Yisai? V'im kidshua b'layla eina mekudeshes. Why is that relevant? Yeah. Yalav Yavo. So the Gemara in Brachos says that the reason, that's what we actually give a shir on this, that if you missed the first night, should you go back the first night, or the second night rather? There was a machlokes, we had the Or Sameach and 2 days in the Magen Avram. And so this is the Gemara's source that you don't repeat Yalav Yavo by Mariv Rosh Chodesh if you missed it. Why? Because it's unbelievable Gemara, because Ein Mekadshenes HaChodesh B'Layla, which Rav Soloveitchik developed and said that apparently it shows that saying Yalav Yavo is not only like a nice recitation like we do on Yontif. Apparently saying Yalav Yavo on Rosh Chodesh has some real ramifications, and we explained, based on our shiurim, that makes a lot of sense with Shitas HaRambam, that the reason why it's Rosh Chodesh is because the Jews in Eretz Yisrael are being koveya that it's Rosh Chodesh. They are the Bezdin of the Zman Hazeh. By them acting and enacting that it's Rosh Chodesh by saying Yalav Yavo, that is a Kiddush HaChodesh. If so, the halacha of Ein Mekadshenes HaChodesh B'Layla still applies. And if you forget Yalav Yavo by night, you don't repeat. Yeah.
What if somebody forgets the second night?
That's exactly the machlokes we spoke about. And we happen to paskin la. It's a machlokes. It's 2 days in the Magen Avram. It happens to be a machlokes of Paiskim. We paskin la halacha that you don't repeat it either. But we suggested the Or Sameach, based on a lumdus that we explained a few months ago in a shir. We said that the Or Sameach was of the opinion that you should repeat it. Yeah.
Why do you need a Gemara to tell us that you don't have to repeat? It's a rishus.
Mariv? Were you Yotzei Tefillah?
I would assume you don't have to be that there's no requirement to be Yotzei Tefillah. It's a rishus.
Do you have the shlumin? Do you have the shlumin from now?
Sure.
So.
Sure.
Shlumin can't be more strong than the original. The original rishus, I would assume.
But Adi's pointing out, if you're saying it's so rishus oriented, so why is there tashlumin? You missed it. First of all, the Ramah writes, "Bizman hazeh kvar shavu ola kechova." So anyone who doesn't want to join the WhatsApp group and doesn't want to come to Ma'ariv, that's what we tell them. We tell them the Ramah. That whole din of Ma'ariv Rishus, that Kfar Shavuot like a Chova, we already accepted upon ourselves that it's a Chiyuv. But that's not a real answer to your question, because the Gemara was before Kfar Shavuot like a Chova. The Gemara was when Ma'ariv was a Rishus. You're saying...
Except HaShana is a favor to the Mispal and not to Ma'ariv, meaning it's not a Chiyuv in the sense.
So what do you mean by a favor to the Mispal?
It's Rachel Shemayim. It's tefillah from that perspective. But
So-
there's no korban that's corresponding to Ma'ariv.
Meaning, if you weren't Yotze the Tefillah, you weren't Yotze the Tefillah, so you had the opportunity to do Tashlumin.
Within the framework of Shemona Esrei, within tefillah, but
So now, same thing over here. I want to know, was I Yotze Ma'ariv? You're right. You're right. I'm not going to tell a guy that he's more mechuyev once he forgot Yalav Yov than he was originally. But for whatever crazy reason, the guy wants to daven Ma'ariv. I don't know. He came to shul in the first place. But Lamaisa, there was a halacha called Ma'ariv that they daven, meaning, and so he's a tzaddik. I mean, saying he's a tzaddik. So now the halacha is, so what's with my tefillah without Yalav Yavo?
You're also suggesting that
So this guy in the first place is coming to shul. So you can ask on this guy, what are you coming to shul for? Ma'ariv's a rishus.
Let me compare it to the case of he's benching and he fails to say Yalav Yavo, and it's not Shabbos. It's
Rosh
Chodesh.
Chodesh. Rosh Chodesh.
I'm sorry, Rosh Chodesh.
Okay.
And does he have to repeat
Yeah.
benching?
No, not benching, but davening he does. The Gemara makes a distinction.
So there's a distinction between benching
Yeah,
and davening.
sure.
chayav to eat that meal.
Sure.
Chayav to daven that's Shemona Esrei.
Right, that's what the Gemara says.
There were just two.
No, the Gemara Rishus doesn't the Rishus doesn't mean that you shouldn't daven, that it's a wrong thing to daven. Otherwise everything would be a bracha levatala. Means that it's not on the same par as Shachris and Mincha.
It's not a mitzvah chiyuv, it's perhaps a mitzvah kiyuv.
Okay, maybe that's what the Gemara means, but whatever it is, there's a mitzvah there. And there's a purpose to wanted to do with mitzvahs, and it's not just Bizman Hazeh that we started davening Ma'ariv. They were started davening Ma'ariv before, and then that was, when all else was equal, you were encouraged to davening Ma'ariv. It just didn't have the same level as Shachris and Mincha. So therefore, I think that's the answer in terms of being Yotzei the mitzvah. There is a mitzvah of Ma'ariv. Yeah.
Maybe there's no such thing as being Yotzei Ma'ariv. You're doing a mitzvah, but since there's no chiyuv, you're not Yotzei. It's the whole thing is nadal. That's why it is no chiyuv to do the.
So this what you're asking is an interesting question. This is a Reb Chaim. There's a machlokes the Rambam and the Ravid about a person. I don't know. I wasn't planning to speak this, but a person who was davening, and then he realized he davened already. He's in the middle of tefillah. Happens to you all this. So the machlokes the Rambam and the Ravid. It's machlokes the Rambam and the Ravid whether or not by Ma'ariv if you should continue davening. Means by Shachris and Mincha, everyone agrees that you can't continue davening.
Go to Yotzei.
You started off Adaita Dechiv, you're in the middle of the fifth bracha, and now you're going to say, oh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I realized I daven, now I'm going to offer Nadava. There's no combo platters in Shemayim. It's either a Nadava or a Chiv. You can't offer two. But if I remember correctly, Shitas HaRambam is that when it comes to Ma'ariv, then you're allowed to daven. So Reb Chaim and the Ravid disagrees. The Ravid says the same thing. So Reb Chaim, if I remember correctly, explains the machlokes, the Rambam and the Ravid based on this inyan. What's the nature of Ma'ariv? Is Ma'ariv, or it could even be also post the Ramah, Bizman Hazeh, once we were Kfar Shavuot Kachova. Does that mean that the Chefetz of a Tefillah now is exactly paramount and parallel to Shachris and Mincha, that it doesn't shtim anymore with an Adava? Or no, we as a Gavra, we tried to become from, and we tried to be mechazik ourselves to daven Marav. But the nature of the tefillah itself is still like a mamish an optional tefillah, and it didn't change the trura of the tefillah. That was Reb Chaim's hezber. But back to Sanhedrin, and Mitzvah Hashem brachas will come. So, yeah.
Also, in some sense, what you were arguing is that the Alaviyah is kind of like Me'ena Ma'ora.
So
You would have to repeat.
Yalav is a Me'ina Ma'ira.
Repeat if you.
Shachris and Min.
No, the question was with Myra.
Right. So
You have to repeat
the Gemara says no, though.
the second. No, because.
The Gemara says because of Ein Mekachin is Chodesh
you
Balayla.
do it at night.
Right.
You need
That's
that
the reason.
Gemara to tell you
Well, so yeah. So what he's asking is, why do you need that? You never need to. You didn't need to daven in the first place. Of course you shouldn't. So I don't really fully hear it, because if you're telling me why shouldn't I repeat it? I came to Marav in the first place. I clearly wanted to score some points with the Rebbeinu Shalom. Rishus, Nidava, whatever you wanted, I wanted to do something good. So now I want to know, did I accomplish what I stepped out here to do or not? So now Chazal said, yes, you accomplished it, and don't go back.
But if it's Me'ena Ma'ora.
You're right. You didn't have to, and if you have an appointment right now, maybe you won't have to. But if you want to know if you did it right,
If it's Me'ena Ma'ora,
you
you would have to.
would have to work.
You have to repeat it.
Were it not for this halacha of imikadosh chodesh balayla. Yeah, but what he's asking is, okay, it's me'in ha'ma'ira, but I have no chiyuv to daven in the first place, every night, Marav. So you're right, but I obviously came here to do something. Okay, good. So sok the Gemara. Ein ma'aretz HaShana ela b'yoyim, ve'im mekadosh chodesh ela b'yoyim, ve'im ketru balayla im nekudashos. Why? Amar Rabbi Abba. Wow, unbelievable. Siyata Dishmaya in Yana Diyayma. Micro. What does the pasuk say? Tiku b'chodesh shofar b'kes aliyim chageinu. Did everyone get my email? Everybody say. I sent out an email about the Siyata Dishmaya of why the eclipse was right before Rosh Chodesh El. So I said a drasha based on this pasuk. The Gemara says, Tiku b'chodesh shofar b'kes aliyim chageinu. You should blow the shofar b'kes aliyim chageinu. When something is hidden. What exactly is hidden? So Rashi by us explains what's hidden is what? Is that the moon is hidden. When you begin the Chodesh, Rosh Chodesh, the moon is always very small. So that is the time that Tiku b'chodesh shofar that we're going to blow shofar on Rosh Hashanah. So the Tzlach has a drasha, and I already found that it's in Rishonim. The Tzlach has a drasha that the Satan comes to HaKadosh Baruch Hu on Rosh Hashanah, and he tries to be mekatrig against us, and he tries to prosecute us. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, based on last week's parsha, Al pishnayim edim yakon davar. I can't accept what you're saying unless you have witnesses. So the Satan goes to his witnesses that observe everything that goes on in the world. Who are the witnesses that observe everything in the world? The sun and the moon. And he says, come testify. And the sun comes to testify. And the moon doesn't want to testify against us. He saves Am Yisrael that follows the moon. So that's what the Tzlach says. The moon is hidden when it comes to Rosh Hashanah. So he's not the second witness. So there's no two Eidim to make Makatrig against us. Derech Agav, I didn't write this in the email because I didn't want to get in trouble for this, but the Bnei Noach, the Gemara says, is killed with Eid Echad. And the sun's always available. So the sun is the sun is there. The sun is this Dayan Echad, Eid Echad. The Gemara says later on in Sanhedrin. So I was thinking that it could be that the Rebbeinu Shalom Siyata Dishmaya was that there was a solar eclipse, that even the sun was blocked before Rosh Chodesh Elul. That there was not even an Eid Echad. He wasn't even Machayev us to come l'shvua. There was nothing. There was no Eidim against us b'chlal. Everything was hidden. But that's all Aliba Deshitas Rashi. Bakesel Yom Chageinu is going on the hidden moon. Rashi says when Rosh Hashanah comes, there's a very small moon. You can't find the moon. If you look in Taisus and Rosh Hashanah and Taisus and Eruvin, Taisus Rosh Hashanah and Taisus and Eruvin explain this pasuk of Tiku b'chodesh shofar Bakesel Yom Chageinu not to be going on the moon. Bakesel Yom Chageinu, Zok Taisus, Rabbeinu Meshulam says that there's no seer of Rosh Chodesh brought. The korban is not brought. And there's no mentioning in the Musaf of the seer of Rosh Chodesh like we do on every other Musaf. The Ritva there in Rosh Hashanah says something fascinating. He says, no, it's not that we don't mention Rosh It's a big machlokes Rishonim. Should you mention in the Musaf of Rosh Hashanah that it's also Rosh Chodesh? That's totally in this machlokes, Rabbeinu Tam, Rabbeinu Mishul, and the Ritva. The Ritva says, no, that's not the pshat. Everyone says you should mention Rosh Chodesh. Avad, it's Rosh Chodesh. Rosh Hashanah is also Rosh Chodesh. You know what he means? It means very balbacha, says the Ritva. You know why it's Bekesel Yom Chagenu? It says Rosh Hashanah. Everyone's davening for Parnasa. Everyone's davening for their life. Everyone's nervous. Everything of thinking about it. It's Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah. Ritva says, did anyone stop and think that today's also Rosh Chodesh? You never heard a guy in his life say that today's Rosh Chodesh. Everyone's totally enveloped with the idea that it's Rosh Hashanah. That's Bakesel Yom Chagenu. No one even realized. Nebuch to Rosh Chodesh for Tishrei. Totally gets enveloped and swallowed up. Bakesel Yom Chagenu. That it's totally hidden of the Chag, the Yom Chagenu of Rosh Hashanah. Yeah, so that would be a machlokes Rishonim. That is goof of the machlokes Rabbeinu Mishalem. There was a different nusach according to half the Rishonim of how to daven Musaf Rosh Hashanah.
The pasuk still says the pasuk still says it. So you're not. If you know the pasuk.
You're saying the pasuk is mashma.
Says
But that doesn't necessarily. So how does Rabbeinu?
So Rosh Hashanah you have that's the Chodesh.
Right, but that's not necessarily a raya that you say it in Musaf.
No.
Right. It's a raya that you brought the carbon. Right.
It's right that
Right.
everybody should know.
Right.
And that Balabatish, the
Yeah.
Esed Yom Chagenu
Yeah.
actually begins with the fact that we don't have a Shabbos Mavarchim.
Right. Exactly. It's all. That's why I think the Mishnah Berurah writes that reason. I think Mishnah Berurah writes the reason why there's no Mavarchim Kodesh is because of Bakesel Yom Chagenu. What's the cue reason? Yeah. Right, exactly. That's our Gemara. Says Mamish Siyata Dishmai. When is it? 2 weeks. Good. Ma'ikra tigu bechodesh shecha bekesel yom chagenu ezu chag shechodesh miskase bo havi omer ze Rosh Hashanah uksiv ki chok li Yisrael hu mishpat lelo Yaakov. And the pasuk goes on to say in that pasuk Ki chok li Yisrael hu mishpat leilo Yaakov, ma mishpat b'yoyim, af kiddush hachodesh b'yoyim. So it's interesting. The one yontif that has a kiddush hachodesh on it, right, that the pasuk is saying Rosh Chodesh is ignored, is actually, ironically, the source that what? That kiddush hachodesh can't be balayla. Because that same pasuk that calls Ki chok li Yisrael mishpat leilo Yaakov, that same pasuk of Rosh Hashanah, which Rosh Chodesh is ignored, but is a Rosh Chodesh, right? That same pasuk calls it a mishpat. And the Gemara knows, later on in Sanhedrin, the Gemara knows, mishpat dinei mammon is you can't be done balayla. So just like you can't be done balayla, you also can't do Kiddush HaChodesh balayla. So it's ironic. It's the Rosh Hashanah that is the one yontif, because that's the only yontif that we have that is a shayach to a Rosh Chodesh. Every other yontif is not Bakesel Yom Chagenu. So the one yontif that Rosh Chodesh is ignored is actually the source that every Rosh Chodesh can't be balayla. Good. So what's the kasha? What's this a source for, Rabbi Yisai? This is a source for what? Ein mekadshenes hachodesh balayla. Because just like it's mishpat, so too, this can't be mekadesh hachodesh. Yet the Gemara derived something else from this pasuk. Ibur HaShana. So I asked Mark Liebman, I don't understand. According to the Yad Ramah, according to the tzlach that we presented for already a few weeks now, Ibur HaShana and Kiddush HaChodesh are two different halachos. They need two distinct psukim to teach them halachos. Just because one has atem afilu shaygin doesn't necessarily mean that the other has atem afilu shaygin. Who has difficulty with this Gemara? This Gemara is givaldik if you learn like the Chiddush Aran. If you learn like the Chiddush of the Minchas Chinuch, whatever applies to Kiddush HaChodesh, Atem Afilu Shaygin applies to Ibur HaShana. It's all one package deal. It's all one halacha. And Atem applies to this and Atem applies to that. And the halachas that apply to one apply to the other. What's the raya? The raya is this Gemara. We only have a pasuk where? For Kiddush HaChodesh. But the Gemara what? In that same breath says this is the marker for Ibur HaShana. So the Yad Ramah, l'chayra is mufrach. The Yad Ramah is a kasha on him from this Gemara. Bam kasha. How's the Yad Ramah, how's the tzlach going to get out of this Gemara? So I looked at the Yad Ramah. So I think the answer is in the Yad Ramah himself. And I think it might actually be a raya to the presentation that we said. If you remember, the Yad Ramah was of the opinion that the fact that you could be ma'aber the shana for the tzarachim was not because of atem afilu shogin. He disagreed with the Ran. He had to bring halach l'moshe b'sinai. He had to bring another makar, another source to teach you that halach, because he doesn't know it intuitively. Says the Yad Ramah in this Gemara, and how do you know that Ibur HaShana also is only b'yoyim? Says the Yad Ramah, well, Ibur HaShana, the Shana and Rosh Hashanah, when Rosh Hashanah is going to be, is also totally based on the Kviyas HaChadoshim. Ultimately, that will affect the Shana. As I the Yad Ramah. So I said to Mark, I don't understand. Why did the Yad Ramah have to speak so much? If you would hold what? That intuitively the halachas to one carry over to the other, that should be your parish on the Gemara. There's one track. It's only the Yad Ramah l'shitaso that held like Shitas Hatzlach, that held that there were two distinct tracks of Ibur HaShana and Kiddush HaChodesh, that he needed to explain this Gemara with a svara that what? Ultimately, every Shana is affected by every Chodesh. And it was necessary for him to say a pshat in this Gemara. Whereas the Chidush Haran in this Gemara doesn't say boo. He doesn't say anything. This Gemara is a raya brura to his shita. Because what applies to one applies to the other. So I think the Yad Ramah in its explanation of this Gemara, the reason why he had to go out of his way to explain a correlation between Ibur HaShana and Kiddush HaChodesh, between Shana and Chodesh, is because l'shitaso he held in the Gemara before that they're really two distinct tracks, and he had to explain away this Gemara. Good. Tana Rabbanan.
And yet the question of Ibur HaChodesh really only comes up in Pesach.
Ibur HaChodesh.
In this
Ibur HaChodesh is a question every year. Ibur HaShana.
that whether we should calculate it.
Well, no, that's a big machlokes rishonim. That's a machlokes the Rambam and Rashi. Rashi and Taisus learn that it's really connected to all the moados. The Rambam Shita, the Brisker Rav held it's dafka Pesach Tekin. Yeah, it's a big machlokes rishonim. The Gemara says as follows: Tana Rabbanan, Ema Abernes HaShana b'shnei Ra'avo. Says the Gemara Chiddush. Everything we've discussed up until now, there are reasons to be Ma'aber HaShana. Bezdin will take into account Ibur HaShana. That's all as long as the following, that there's no famine. But if there's a famine, says Rashi, Lefi shekala atvua v'tzrichen lechol min hachadash. Because there's nothing to eat, and you can't extend another month, another Adar, then they're going to have less food to eat. They're not going to be able to eat the new crop, Chodesh, because they can't eat it till Tezai and Nisan, which is going to be delayed a month. I think some of the Rishonim actually learn because, not necessarily because they're not going to eat, but because the prices, they're going to mark up the prices because that's not going to be around. Fine. Zok the Gemara, Tanya Rebbe, the Brisa says, Rebbe Omer v'ish ba mi Baal Shalisha, was a man who came from Baal Shalisha, vayavo la'ish Elohim, lechem bikurim esrim lechem sa'irim, and he brought him all these breads. Ve'en lecha kala b'chol eretz Yisrael levashal perisea yoser mi Baal Shalisha. And this place was the easiest place, the best place that used to ripen their crops the first. V'afal pichein, and even though this crop was brought from Baal Shalisha, loy bichra elamin echad. There was only one type of stalk that was able to ripen, and that's how the story happened. Shema Taimer chitim, and maybe you'll tell me what it was chitim. Talmaloimer sa'irim. Really, what he brought him was sa'irim. Rashi says, lechem bikurim, lechem aviv mashma she'achshav hayim mevaker. The pasuk is mashma that right now it just ripened. V'shemer tomer chitin hayu, and maybe you'll tell me that what he brought him was wheat. Shein afelos lekachnis achru levashel ad achar Pesach. Maybe you'll tell me, no, this wasn't indicative of anything happening in that season. It was chitim, and that's normal for chitim to happen. Tamalaymer lechem soyerim, no, it was actually the barley. So what is the Gemara proving? The Gemara is bringing a proof that what happened over here, this was a famine. There was no crops, and even the barley wasn't ripening, which is uncharacteristic. Shema tomer lefnei omer, maybe this isn't a proof that you can't be ma'aber as HaShana in the time of a famine. Maybe this whole happened before Pesach. Maybe this whole famine was before Pesach. Tamaloimer tein la'am vayoichlu achara oimer haya. So Rashi, Shema Tomer, the fourth line, Lifnei oimer haya, Bizman Biker, Tamaloimer tein la'am vayoichlu malamed shekire va'omer v'utar achodesh. From the fact that the pasuk says, tein la'am, give everyone all of the bread, that shows that it was the zman of heter chadash. And what? Says the Gemara, Emer me'ata ra'uya haisa osa shana shetis aber. So now the Gemara concludes from this story with Elisha that what? That really that year should have been a leap year. Mipnei malo ibra, and why didn't they make it a leap year, Elisha? Why didn't Elisha delay a month and add another month? Sheshnas batzayres haya, because it was a famine. Vayu akol rotzen lebeis agronos. Now the shaila is, how does the Gemara know that such a year should have been in a leap year? Who says such a year should have been in a leap year? Says Rashi, Ela me'ata ru'uya haisa shana lis aber. Ala aviv shekshigia nisan adayin lo haya rov aviv. Again, what are we talking about over here? What was happening over here? The barley, right? The barley was not ripened, right? That means the tvua is not there, right? That means what? That means the aviv is not there. Aviv is one of the reasons for Ibur HaShana. The aviv is on la tvua, right? So if the barley is shvach, so that's a reason to what? To be ma'aber HaShana. And yet, the Gemara says they brought the omer, and it was tein la'am. Everyone was able to eat the bread. Why didn't they delay it? Why didn't Elisha delay it? Zok the Gemara, you see from here, that in a time when there's a famine, you don't have Ibur HaShana.
What was the Rambam say?
Oh, beautiful. Excellent. Couldn't have timed it better. But I'm going to delay you for 2 minutes. Before we get to the Rambam, why is this a good raya? Ask on everyone. All we know that's lacking during this year is what, said Rashi? Aviv. What does the Gemara say, if we remember the Gemara before? You need two. Excellent. Not Aviv alone. You got to match it up with something else. Says Taisvis, Tap Taisvis. Vim timer minalei dilma avivhu delo hava. Maybe you're right. Maybe the tvu was shvach. Maybe there wasn't barley. Aval peris ha'elin v'tkufa havu. But maybe the lunar and solar calendar was aligned. The seasons were aligned, and maybe there were fruits. V'amrinan da'alechem me'anei ma'abrin. And the Gemara says that we don't do one. Says Taisvis v'yesh leimer demistama kaven de bal shlisha. Hakala sheberetz Yisrael lo bichra ela min echad. Shma minod de peres eilan nami lo havo. Taisa says, come on. If the tvua in the best place for agriculture in Eretz Yisrael didn't create any tvua, mistama, one could assume something that the story itself did not tell us, that the fruits were also missing, and therefore that's what you have to add in. Ru'uya yisashana li'yisaber. Why? Because of aviv and peres eilan. Okay. V'imtaimer v'dilma, so Taisa says, okay, but you forgot some of the other halachos that we learned. V'dilma b'Yehuda hu d'lo yava. Aval be'ever ha'yardenu b'golul have it. But maybe that was the case in Yehuda, where he went to Elisha. But how do you know that it was in all three areas in Eretz Yisrael? Maybe in Ever HaYarden and Golo it was, and the halacha is, even if it's good in Ever HaYarden and Golo, but Yehuda it's not, we're not going to be Ma'amer HaShana, it has to be in two places, the Gemara says. One second. No, that you know. If the kala shaloi bichra, the place that ripened so easily, didn't have it, alachas kama v'kama, it wasn't in the other areas. Good. So before we get to the Rambam, we have to learn the Rambam. Says the Rambam in the everyone have a sheet? The Rambam in Perek Dalet Halacha Tezai. So I'm going to skip the Rambam in Halacha Tezvav. He just paraphrases our Gemara. He says the two exceptions to the rule of when Ibur HaShana doesn't apply is when it's a famine and also when it's Shemitah. Okay? Which we'll get to. But then the Rambam in Taz Zayin says as follows. Yirah Eli. What does that mean when the Rambam says Yirah Eli? No raya. Yirah Eli means I am speaking right now with my own opinion. I don't have a proof to this. Shezeh she'amru chachamim ein ma'abrim b'shnas ra'avon u'b'shviyish shelo ya'abru behem epnei atzorech hadrachim v'agsharim u'kiyoytze behem. Aval m'hoyse shana ru'uya lihis'aber. Yeah, my fault. But that's the crux. What's up the Rambam? Evam m'hoyse shana ru'uya lihis'aber. Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Avam ha'isa osa hashana ru'uya Perek Dalet. Avam ha'isa hashana ru'uya l'saber mepnei ha'tkufa, o mepnei ha'aviv, u'peiros ha'ilon, ma'abrim b'chol hazman. That's the Rambam. So what did the Rambam just say? Our Gemara that says not to be ma'aberes hashana in a case of a famine, there puts the brakes on all the halachas that we've been learning. Ibur HaShana for all these different reasons. Says the Rambam, it doesn't apply. It doesn't apply. It doesn't apply when? It only applies in one of the brises. If the reason that Bezdin wanted to be ma'aber was because of the roads, because of the highways, because of the drachim, because of the galus, because of the tzorech, atem afilu shaygigim, what we've been speaking about, when Bezdin feels there's a necessity for Ibur HaShana. But says the Rambam, if it's because of Peiros Ha'ilon Aviv Tkufa, then it even trumps a famine. So before I ask on the Rambam, when we see this Rambam, this should really resonate well with us, because this is beautiful within the eyes of the Brisker Rav and within the way we've depicted the Rambam. The Rambam, the way we've learned, holds that there's really two tracks. What's the proof? If you remember the Rambam's definition of a sad, of adding an additional reason to one of those three reasons, on Amid Beis, of Peiros Ha'ilon Tkufa, or Aviv, the Rambam holds it's got to be those three together. You cannot add in another reason like the Gozalos, or the Tlaim, or the Behemoths, or the Ophos, or even mix in within them the bridges. It doesn't go. So the Brisker Rav explained why that is. Because the Rambam holds the real Iker Adin of Ibur HaShana is for Pesach because of those reasons. Peiros Ha'ilon, Aviv, and Tkufa. Those were simanim that what? Shmor es Chodesh Aviv, the calendar was off and Pesach is not going to be in the Aviv. That's the real McCoy. That's the Din de Oraisa, the original halacha of Ibur HaShana. Later on, there were sources that you could also have another type of Ibur HaShana of bridges that the Rambam brings down. But the Rambam says, but even the Gemara that says Asad is not a combining reason about the Karbanos. That was just something that we could present to the Am so that they would accept the Ibur HaShana, but it wasn't actually the reasons. You can't mix and match the different brises. And we pointed out that according to the Rambam, the Brisker Rav, the placement and the setup of the different brises on Amid Aleph and Amid Beis, the DMV, right? All the different proofs, according to the Rambam, makes a lot of sense. The fact that they're not grouped together, which Tosfos and Rashi had to work hard and explain why they're differentiated, because they didn't see such a distinction between all the brises. A reason is a reason, so you can mix and match reasons. Now we see another raya to the Rambam distinguishing between the reasons of Ibur HaShana. The Rambam says that when it comes to a famine, that only stops what? Not the real McCoy, not the halacha of what? of Tkufa of Be'er Se'ilan, the Din D'Oraisa, the original halacha of Shmoras Chodesh HaAviv. That's the calendar. No. That's going to even override a famine. So what does our Gemara mean to say that if there's a famine, you don't have Ibur HaShana? Says the Rambam, that means the Ibur HaShana of what? The Ibur HaShana of a Tzairech. The Ibur HaShana of a what? Of Gsharim. Of the Golus, or whatever reasons are on the Bryce of Amid Aleph. Gevaldik. So the Rambam's really sits well. The Rambam's really good. Al pi the Briskerov's Mahalach, and this is, in my opinion, is a riot to the Briskerov. Yet the Rambam's a big problem. Oh, so comes along. If you see on the side, do you have it? Oh yeah, the Hagos HaRamah. So instead of the Ravid over here, the Ramah attacks the Rambam. So he says, well, we could see it in the Kesef Mishnah, because I think it got cut off over here. He basically says exactly what Dr. Bacon just said, which is, it's a beautiful distinction, but it's against our Gemara. Why is it against our Gemara? Because our Gemara says that what was the reason they were shaykh to be ma'aber? Mipnei ha'aviv. That means the reasons that what? That we're ma'aber shana is even the real McCoy. Is even something that should have been a shana mu'beres. So comes along, I'll read it outside, comes along the Kesef Mishnah, and the Kesef Mishnah answers in defense of the Rambam. You remember the Taisus we just did? I mean, Kesef Mishnah doesn't quote Taisus, but really, he's alluding to Taisus, I think. Aviv's not going to explain the Gemara away either. Why? Because I asked you. Aviv alone is not enough of a reason to be ma'aber. So Taisus, based on that kasha, said there has to be a second reason that this was a year that was a contender to being an Ibur HaShana year. And that was, if there's no Tvua, probably there's no Peres HaIlan either. If there's no Aviv, there's also no Peres HaIlan, and that was the second reason. Says the Kesef Mishnah, maybe the Rambam differentiated. Maybe the Rambam had a different pshat in the Gemara. And the Kesef Mishnah says, and this is where the Kesef Mishnah gets into a little bit of heavy water. Kesef Mishnah says maybe the Rambam held that it was no Aviv. And if there's no Aviv, so what's there also no? The Gozolos are not going to be fat because they didn't have Tvua to eat. So says the Kesef Mishnah b'shem. Listen to what, if you look halfway down in the Kesef Mishnah, Aaron bar Meshulam, he quotes. You see, it's like halfway down by the two dots. Rabbi Aaron bar Meshulam Heishiv Omar Das Harav, he explained Das Harambam, the Hodiktoni Emer Miata Ruyois al Lisaber, Loy Mipnei Ha'avu Peres HaIlan Kasher Kasavda, the Peres HaIran Lo Iri Braisa Klal. The Gemara never said anything about Peres HaIlan. That was Taisus Pshat. The Min Echad Diktoni Mimina Tvuas Kamar. It only said Aviv. It only said the Tvua. Elahach Kamar Kolomer Kaven Shahaya. Bichra La'avi Eretz Yisrael Kiyim B'makom Echad Umin Echad V'usa'ir Malachar Ha'imr Nimcha Shelo HaYaroi V'aviv B'chodesh Nisan Kiv Shnismai Kol Chacha Aviv Niravadai Shagdim V'atloim Rakim V'dakim. Rabbi Isai, if there's no Tvua, then who's not going to be fat? The animals are not going to be fat. So the Rambam held that the two reasons of the Gemara, you're right. One reason was a reason of the real McCoy, of Aviv. But there wasn't a second reason. So that means what? You had to be mitzaref, what? You had to be mitzaref, an additional reason of the tloim and the gediyim. And therefore the Rambam held that ultimately, what type of year? Why was this a contender to be an Ibur HaShana? Were it not that it was a shnas batzaris, were it not that this was a famine year? It was only because of that additional reason of the tzarech, of the gediyim and the tloim. So therefore, the Rambam was able to work with this Gemara, and the Rambam held it's not a kasha Gemara. Meaning, if the Gemara was actually like Taisus learned, that it was Aviv and Peres HaIlan, So then, yeah, the Gemara is like the Rama said. That's a raya against Shitas HaRambam. You can't distinguish between Peres Yino and Aviv and the Tsar Tzarachim because the Gemara says Beferish that this year with Elisha was one of the real McCoys, Peres Elon and Aviv. But because the Rambam explained the Gemara as just being Aviv, that's all the Gemara said. And what was the second reason? Doesn't the Gemara say Aviv can't be an independent reason? It needs a second reason. So the Rambam said, yeah, the second reason was what? The second reason was if there's no tvua, must be that the animals aren't fat. And then they added a tzarech, and that's the Rambam's raya, that if it's only a year of a tzarech, then you take into account the famine, and you're not ma'aber HaShana for tzarech. But if it's an Ibur HaShana based on the three major reasons, that wouldn't be in effect. But this Kesef Mishnah b'mechilas kvodo, I think is wrong. Because the Rambam, if you look back in the Brisa in Yud Aleph Amud Aleph, when you look at the example that he quoted, Hatzloim v'lo mipnei agozolos, which means the animals were shvach. What does the Gemara call it? Ein ma'abernes HaShana lo mipnei agdim, lo mipnei atloim, lo mipnei agozolos. Shelo pirchu. You do not have the ability to be ma'abernes HaShana with them. Ella, oisin, oso, sa'ad. Rather, you can make them a sa'ad. So again, most of the Rishonim held, what does a sad mean? A sad means a secondary reason to the reason that you have. Namely, if you have Aviv, so you can use that as a secondary reason. So the Kesef Mishnah's explanation it works beautifully if you understand sad the way I just explained. But if you remember, that was Rashi and Tloim and Gediim are never a valid reason for Ibur HaShana. It can't count as reason number 2. And I found that Reb Chaim Kanievsky in the Shekel HaKodesh writes like this, that the Kesef Mishnah didn't chap, that according to Shitas HaRambam, that pshat is not correct. So what are you going to have to say? You're going to have to say a different pshat. It doesn't fit very well. So the Kesef Mishnah is very geschmack. Because all the Brisa told us in the Gemara we just read is that there was an Aviv. It was a shvach in the Aviv. So Kesef Mishnah created a whole story. He said, if there's no tvua, so mastama, there's going to be other things that are affected. So mastama, the sad was going to be affected also. I love the story. It's a great story. And it's all affected, ultimately stemming from where? No pun intended. From those crops. From the tvua. But what the problem is that that's not Shitas HaRambam in sad. Rambam Shita is sad, it doesn't count for reason number 2. So you're going to have to make a story, and I'm not such a good storyteller, but you're going to have to make up a story and it's not so geschmack. Because again, all the Brisa told us was that it was Aviv. Tosfos was the one who said if there was Aviv, Mistama, there was the Shvacha agriculture also for Beres HaElan. Shitas HaRambam is that Yeroi Li, that will not be an impediment and that will not be something that's stopped when it comes to a Shnas Ravo. It's only a secondary reason, it's only a reason like the Tzorech that will help. According to Shitas HaRambam, the only way to explain our Gemara is for you to add a detail that wasn't found in the Gemara, not like Tosfos of Peres HaElan, not like the Kesef Mishnah, that ultimately the animals weren't fat because there were no tvua, but you have to say that some bridges collapsed, that there was a secondary reason that the Gemara never told us. Otherwise, the pashtus of this Gemara is against Shitas HaRambam. So the only way I have to explain it, Mechilas covered the Kesef Mishnah, and the only way the Rambam, otherwise the pashtus of the Gemara is really a tzarachi and gadol on the Rambam. You have to add in Nukimta that it was the Aviv, but Aviv alone is not a reason to be Ma'aber. So why were they Taka Ma'aber? Must have been another reason that does count, like the Gsharim, that is a good secondary reason, like the Gsharim, or one of the other tzarachim, but again, it can't be the reason of Tkufa, and it can't be the reason of Peres HaElan, because the Rambam holds, once you have those 2 reasons, once you're in the Briskerov, Shmoras, Chodesh Aviv territory, once you're in the real McCoy of Ibur HaShana, then famines are not going to be taken into effect, so you have to explain away this Gemara. Shkayach.